You are voluntarily paying a mathematically impossible 0% markup to stand in a dark, deafening, fire hazard of a room while being treated like absolute garbage by a guy in a cheap black suit. And you will beg. You will literally beg to do it again next weekend. You think you are buying a drink. You are not. If you actually just wanted a drink, you would go to a local liquor store, buy a bottle of perfectly good vodka for $30, and consume it on your own couch, in the comfort of your sweatpants. Nightclubs do not sell alcohol. Alcohol is merely the physical souvenir of the actual transaction taking place in the dark. Nightclubs sell a manufactured, weaponized illusion of status. They are selling you the momentary, intoxicating, highly addictive delusion that you are somehow better, richer, and more important than the pathetic person standing on the other side of a cheap, red velvet rope. They sell ego, pure, distilled, unadulterated ego, and they charge a premium for it. Think about it for a second. When was the last time you bought a $20 cocktail that tasted like battery acid, just so you could hold it as a prop while awkwardly nodding your head to a deafening remix of a pop song you actively despise? Tell me your absolute worst, most financially ruinous clubbing story down in the comments. I read all of them. And while you are scrolling down there in the dark, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It costs you exactly $0, which is infinitely better than paying a $50 cover charge just to enter a sweaty basement that smells desperately of regret and cheap cologne. Do it now. We have a multi-billion-dollar casino of human vanity to dissect. Let us follow the money, because the money in this industry does not flow. It violently cascades. The nightclub business model is a masterclass in predatory economics. You walk up to the door, you are immediately hit with the first psychological barrier, the line. The line is not there because the club is full. The line is there because the club is empty, and they need you to think it is full. Artificial scarcity. It is the oldest trick in the capitalist playbook, but nowhere is it executed with such theatrical cruelty as outside a nightclub. The bouncer, a man whose sole qualification is a thick neck and a profound capacity for condescension, looks right through you. He dictates your worth. He creates the barrier. And human beings, being the deeply flawed apes that we are, instantly crave whatever is placed behind a barrier. You pay the cover charge, $50, $100, whatever the market will bear. But here's the kicker. That cover charge does not make the club rich. The cover charge is just a filter. It pays for the bouncer's salary, the broken glass cleanup, and the liability insurance. It is a toll booth designed to keep out the absolute poorest element while making the middle class feel like they just bought a golden ticket. You step inside. The real financial slaughterhouse begins. To understand the cash flow of a nightclub, you have to understand that the general admission crowd, the people standing on the sticky dance floor, buying individual drinks at the bar, are mathematically irrelevant to the profit margin. They are not the customers. They are the unpaid extras in a movie. They are the background scenery. They exist purely to create an atmosphere of chaotic, sweaty desperation. Why? Because the real money, the lifeblood of this entire predatory ecosystem, sits elevated above the dance floor, behind a secondary, even more exclusive velvet rope. The VIP section. The whales? Let us do the math on a bottle of Grey Goose vodka. A standard 1-liter bottle costs a nightclub approximately $30 wholesale. In the VIP section of a high-end club in Miami, Las Vegas, or London, that exact same bottle is sold for $1,200, plus a mandatory 20% gratuity, plus tax. You are looking at nearly $1,500 for $30 worth of fermented wheat. That is a 900% markup. It defies every law of rational consumer economics. But remember the pivot. They are not buying vodka. They are buying the sparklers. When a whale orders a bottle, the music shifts. The lights flash. A parade of highly attractive women carries the bottle above their heads, flanked by literal fireworks. Every single eyeball in that dark, miserable room turns to look at the guy sitting at the table. For exactly 30 seconds, he is a god. He is the king of the jungle. He is the apex predator of the night. He is paying $1,470 for 30 seconds of localized fame and $30 for the liquid itself. Who pays? The insecure pay. The newly rich pay. The men who need to mathematically prove their dominance to a room full of strangers pay. The sunk costs of running this operation are staggering. A mega club requires tens of thousands of square feet of prime downtown real estate. We are talking millions of dollars a year in rent. Then there are the liquor licenses, the high-end sound systems, the security details, the marketing budgets, and the payoffs to the promoter cartels. A club is only open maybe 3 or 4 nights a week. They operate for a maximum of 16 hours a week. They have to generate an entire month's worth of commercial rent in the equivalent of a single weekend. The pressure is astronomical. Therefore, the margins must be astronomical. But how do they get you to accept this? How do they rewire your brain to voluntarily empty your bank account? Welcome to the psychology of the cage. A nightclub is not designed for your comfort. It is designed, down to the millimeter, to manipulate your sensory inputs and override your prefrontal cortex. It is a sensory deprivation tank flipped in reverse. It is a sensory overload tank. First, look at the architecture. There are no windows. There are no clocks. You are completely untethered from the natural progression of time. The outside world ceases to exist. It is exactly the same psychological blueprint used by casinos in Macau and Las Vegas. If you do not know what time it is, you do not know when to stop spending. Then comes the auditory assault. The music is not just loud. It is mathematically engineered to vibrate at specific frequencies. The relentless, pulsating bass, usually hovering around 120 to 130 beats per minute, perfectly mimics a highly elevated human heartbeat. Your body physically syncs to the rhythm. It induces a mild state of physiological arousal, anxiety, and thirst. The volume makes verbal communication literally impossible. You cannot talk to the person next to you. You cannot have a rational conversation. Since you cannot talk, you drink. It is the only physical action available to you to alleviate the social awkwardness of standing in a dark room with strangers. The lighting is erratic. Strobe lights disorient your spatial awareness. You lose your balance slightly. You feel off-kilter. This mild physical vulnerability makes you crave an anchor. And conveniently, the only brightly lit, stable objects in the entire room are the bars and the glowing bottles in the VIP section. Your eyes and your wallet are drawn to the light like a moth to a very expensive flame. And notice the seating, or rather, the total lack of it. Unless you are paying thousands of dollars for a VIP table, there is nowhere to sit. This is not an architectural oversight. This is a deliberate, hostile design choice. Forced exhaustion. They want you on your feet, shuffling around, getting tired, getting thirsty, and ultimately giving up and going to the bar to buy another ridiculously priced drink just to have an excuse to lean against the counter. Everything in the physical environment is hostile to your physical body, precisely so they can sell you the cure. But here is where the logic breaks down for most people. There is a massive, pervasive myth about this industry that 99% of people swallow without thinking. The myth is that nightclubs make millions of dollars simply because they are packed every weekend. People look at a club with 1,000 people in it, doing basic math in their heads, $100 a head, a few drinks each, and they assume the owner is printing money. They assume it is a bulletproof cash cow. The reality is brutal. The reality is that the nightclub business is a financial slaughterhouse for the owners. Let us use logic to destroy this myth. A nightclub is a hyper-depreciating asset based entirely on an intangible, highly volatile commodity: clout. The moment a club opens, it is instantly dying. Why? Because the exclusivity is an illusion that cannot be maintained. To pay the exorbitant rent, the club eventually has to let more people in. The velvet rope has to drop just a little bit to make payroll. But the moment the wrong crowd gets in, the whales look around and realize they are surrounded by regular, middle-class people. The whales leave. They migrate to the newer, more exclusive, more expensive club that just opened across the street. When the whales leave, the bottle service revenue vanishes overnight. But the rent stays the same. The insurance stays the same. The club starts discounting drinks to attract a cheaper crowd just to keep the lights on. The VIP tables sit empty. The death spiral begins. Most nightclubs, even the ones that look massively successful on Instagram, go completely bankrupt within 18 to 24 months of opening. They are not cash cows. They are temporary money vacuums that inevitably implode under the weight of their own operational costs and the fickle nature of human vanity. The house does not always win. In the club business, the house usually burns down. So, who is the real victim here? If the owners are going bankrupt and the rich guys are just buying 30 seconds of fireworks, who is actually getting scammed? The dark truth of this industry is that the entire empire is built on the backs of the insecure middle class. The real victim is the 24-year-old kid making $60,000 a year who blows half his monthly rent on a Tuesday night to split a bottle of cheap champagne with 4 friends just so he can post a video of it on his social media. The victim is the person desperately trying to purchase proximity to wealth. The money pumping through the veins of a nightclub does not come from billionaires. Billionaires do not go to public nightclubs. Billionaires are on yachts. The money comes from the aspirational class. It comes from people who feel small in their daily lives and are willing to financially ruin themselves for the temporary illusion of feeling big. The nightclub is not a venue for entertainment. It is a highly optimized machine designed to identify human insecurity, isolate it, and extract capital from it. It is a tax on the desperate need to be perceived as successful. And this brings us to the mortal wound, the absolute vulnerability of the entire model. The biggest enemy of the nightclub is not government regulation. It is not alcohol taxes. It is not the police. The apex predator that kills nightclubs is simply boredom. The entire model relies on the illusion of importance. But human beings habituate quickly. What is exclusive today is mundane tomorrow. As inflation squeezes the middle class, as the cost of basic living skyrockets, the willingness to pay a 0% markup for fermented wheat in a dark room begins to evaporate. The newer generation is already seeing through the matrix. They are looking at the math, looking at the hangover, looking at the empty bank account, and asking a very dangerous question: why am I paying to be treated like dirt? The moment the customer stops believing in the illusion of the velvet rope, the magic trick fails. The club is revealed to be exactly what it is: a sticky, loud, overpriced, empty box. You are just plankton swimming in their predatory ecosystem, paying top dollar for the privilege of being consumed. Keep your money in your pocket, walk past the velvet rope, and let the illusion starve. What industry should we brutally dissect next? Let me know.